生命の川上です。奥さん、こんにちは。
こんにちは。
今日は今お入りのご主人の保険につきましてのご案内に参りました。
主人の保険ですか？
はい。
Today, we follow the story of Yuri, a young woman who grew up in the quiet countryside of Japan. When she moved to Tokyo, everything felt different. In time, she found not only her career path, but also Ken. They built a home together, one where the noise of the city turned into a background melody for their new life. In a world filled with fashionable styles and trends, Yuri stayed true to her own way of being. She still wore her black-rimmed glasses, the same ones she had worn since her school days, almost like a small signature that reminded her of where she came from. She didn't think much about it, at least not until Ken gently encouraged her to consider something new. Not because she needed to change who she was, but because he believed she deserved to see herself in a new light. This is where Yuri's journey takes an inspiring turn. During dinner, Ken suggested something that caught Yuri by surprise. He told her about a beauty consultant. At first, Yuri hesitated. Curiosity eventually won over her doubts, and Yuri agreed to give it a try.
そのメガネが隠してしまってます。
そんな。
ほら、恥ずかしがらないで外してみてください。
The counselor helped her focus on what made her unique. For Yuri, this was refreshing.
奥さんはもっと自分を磨いて、その美しさを見せた方がいいですよ。
She realized that self-care is not about comparison, but about appreciation. Each small step felt like an adventure, and though she was nervous, she also found herself smiling in ways she hadn't expected. The mirror no longer showed a simple girl from the countryside. It showed Yuri, a woman who had grown, adapted, and blossomed in the city while still carrying the warmth of her roots. Yuri realized that growth doesn't mean abandoning who you are. It means embracing opportunities to evolve while staying rooted in your true self. For Ken, it reinforced the idea that love is not about asking someone to change for you, but about supporting them as they discover their own path. As the afternoon unfolded, Yuri tried on a new hairstyle, experimented with a light touch of makeup, and even picked out a pair of frames that felt both modern and true to her character. Each small step felt like an adventure, and though she was nervous, she also found herself smiling in ways she hadn't expected. What Yuri discovered through this small but meaningful experience was more than a change in appearance. It was a reminder of how important it is to give ourselves permission to grow. Too often, we get caught up in routines, whether it's work, family responsibilities, or simply the habits we've carried for years. These routines can provide comfort, but they can also make us forget that life is about more than repeating yesterday. Sometimes, even the smallest changes open doors to greater confidence and happiness. For Yuri, the lesson was clear. Self-care is not selfish, and growth is not about pleasing others. Instead, it's about recognizing our own worth and allowing ourselves to explore new possibilities. Her glasses, her style, her simplicity, none of those things were flaws. They were part of her story. But by trying something new, she discovered a version of herself that was more confident, more joyful, and more comfortable in her own skin. That realization gave her a fresh perspective, not just on herself, but also on her life with Ken. When Ken saw her afterward, his reaction wasn't one of shock or surprise. Instead, his eyes lit up with genuine joy. It wasn't just about her appearance. It was the happiness radiating from her that touched him most.
なんか気がつかない？
何を？
私のこと。
最近メガネしてないけどコンタクトに変えたの？
Yuri's story shows how small moments, conversations, visits, evening walks teach love, confidence, and growth. True change comes not through struggle, but through kindness, encouragement, and becoming more authentically ourselves. As time went on, Yuri and Ken settled back into their daily rhythm. Work continued to keep Ken busy, but something within their home had shifted. Yuri carried herself with a new sense of ease, smiling more often, greeting each day with renewed energy. Ken, in turn, felt a deeper gratitude for the life they were building together. Their days were still ordinary by most standards, but to them, every ordinary moment felt richer because they had learned to see it through the lens of growth and appreciation. Yuri's growth came not from pressure, but from openness and self-discovery, supported by Ken's kindness. Their story reminds us that true happiness lies in small daily moments, patient encouragement, and growth shared with loved ones. Love thrives when we empower each other, not when we demand change.